310 million people in the United States of America. We're also in Canada, we're also in England, we're also in Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore. So that's probably over 500 million people in all those countries combined. And there's only 100,000 people that are entrepreneurs, and 80% of them signed in to use the system and maybe make a little referral income. When I joined Excel, in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, when I joined Excel, every single week at the Marriott Hotel, there were somewhere between 300 and 500 people attending a meeting just like this. There were top business executives, top CPAs, attorneys. Denny Crum, who was the coach of the University of Louisville basketball team, was in the company, and he would get up here and say, hey, I've been doing this part-time for the last couple of years, and I'm making $35,000 part-time while I coach the University of Louisville basketball team full-time. So that's what was going on. It was that kind of opportunity, that kind of people involved, and that's when we got started. So when you look at all this, the thing that I would hope if I were sitting in your chair is to know that I'm very, very early, but with a company that's very, very solid financially, facilities-based, and leadership-based. Can you see that? Is there anybody that doesn't make sense for? Okay. Is there an eraser? Or just a... Excellent, thanks. The second thing that I would share with you guys, and this is the thing that really got me excited about network marketing when I saw it, were the 3 principles to be successful in this business. And there are really just 3 principles. The first principle is duplication. And duplication means you have a system that you follow so that when you get me started and I get somebody else started, you get somebody else started, and they're all brand new, we're all following the same system. So right now the Daily 8, we've got the Daily 8. There's a system in place that we can follow. And if you get a brand new person started, you can have them go to a website and see a lot of the key elements they need to get their business started and start building. So duplication is critical. The less duplication you have, the slower a team will build, and the less chance it's going to build past you. The greater the duplication, the better it's going to build. So when we joined Excel really didn't have a great training program. So myself and my business partner, we created what we called a Fast Start Action Plan. And we created that plan, and over the next 3 years, we put 250,000 people on a team in Excel. The primary reason was because we had a great plan that was duplicatable, and it was 10 simple steps. And people said, oh, that makes sense. The second thing is we taught people the principles of how this business works, the principles of success. The second one is consistent effort. And the third one is time. And I want to give you a quick example of how this works. Let's say that our send-out cards system that we're going to teach our team is this: to bring 1 person a week to evaluate send-out cards. That's all we're going to do. So we start in our first month, month 1. You get started, you bring 1 person 1 time a week. That's our entire system. So 4 people in the course of the month, 1 of them decided to become an entrepreneur. So now we've got 2 people in the business. Well, the first thing we have to do is principle number 1, we have to teach our new people to duplicate the system. So in month 2, there's 2 of us getting started. Second month's taken off. The thing that we have to do, being the brand new person who got started in the business ourselves, is we now have to lead by example, and we have to have consistent effort. We taught our first person to duplicate, but if we teach people something and we don't do it ourselves, people are going to do what we do more than what we say. So if we're just talking and say, you need to bring a person every week, but we don't do it, they're not going to follow. They're going to follow what we do, not what we say. So it's important. Next month, each of us, our new person, we each bring a person. So that's 4 prospects apiece, 8 prospects. We say we sign up 1. So now, 2 months in the business, got a total of 4 people on your team, yourself included. We got to teach these 2 people to duplicate the system. And now you and your first person, you need to do principle number 2 and be consistent. So now we're in the 3rd month. We start off with 4 people. We each bring 1 person each week. So now we've got 4 people apiece coming throughout the month. We each sign up 1. We get 4 brand new people. So that means we've got 8 people in the business now. Teach those 4 brand new people to duplicate the system. The 4 of us, we have to lead by example with a consistent effort. And so now we have our 4th month. 8 of us getting started. Same process. We each sponsor 1 that month. We've got 16. Now here's the important part right now. 90 to 120 days in the business, right here. That's the time when about 90% of the people who have made it past the first couple of weeks, they're either going to stay or they're going to go. And here's what happens. A lot of people look at that. They say, I've been doing this for 4 months. And they're listening to people talking to them. Hey, how's that business going? Are you making a fortune? All the things that people say. And they say, well, how long have you been doing that? I've been doing it for 4 months. Well, how much you make? Well, I made a few $100s. You mean you've been working that business every week for 4 months and that's all you're making? Because most people think in linear type of financial position. They think of salary, they think of jobs. Most people, even though they know how you can compound money over time, it's not something most people have ever had happen for them, so they don't understand the value of how this system works. And this is where the third one comes in. Because if you keep doing the same thing, and remember, the only thing you're doing is bringing one prospect a week. That's your whole system. So you're spending maybe an hour or 2 hours a week, max. But what happens here is when you get to month 10, 11, and 12, all you're doing is bringing one person a week. Same thing happens, but now in month 10, there's 1,024. In month 12, 2,048. Month 11, month 12, 4,096. So still, in your 12th month, 1 year down the road, you're doing the exact same thing you've been doing for 1 year. That's the consistent effort you've been putting in. So you're leading by example, which is probably more important than anything. You're following the system by example, and that speaks volumes to your team. Your people will start following your example and doing the same thing if you're doing it. But the key is you can't get past this time. You could go get 10 people right away, but most of those 10 people are not going to get 10 people right away. So your numbers might be a little bit bigger down here, but most people are going to look for something on a pretty consistent basis. The interesting thing is, this is 25% of your year. 1/4 of your year, the last 3 months, but 75% of your growth happens in the last 25% of the year. It absolutely works this way. Here's what normally happens. People get in, like what I did when I first started, and they don't follow the system. Or they follow the system and they're excited and they do it for a few weeks or a month or two, but then all of a sudden they get a few people to say no, or they're not making a bunch of money yet, and so now they kind of slack off. So they're not being consistent. And what they think is they think, well, I'm just going to slow back a little bit, or they don't even realize they're doing it and they do it, but now their team slows down and they don't know why. It's like, why are my people not doing more? Which is the wrong question. It should be, what more can I do myself? So it's not, why is my team not doing more? It's, what more can I do? So these 3 principles put into play are how people build business. And this is how I saw the ability to build a big team. Because when I got into business, I was part-time. I started my first year was part-time. And I wanted to build a big business, but I'm thinking, I don't have a lot of time. And once somebody shared this with me, my eyes opened up. And I can tell you there's so many people that I've shared this with over time, they say, now I see how people build these businesses with 1,000 people or a few thousand people. It doesn't happen overnight, it happens over time, but if you don't give it the time to build, following the system consistently, it'll never build, period. It's just not going to happen. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Is there any questions on these 3? The power, like Lamar said, talking about being really sophisticated, the power is in the simplicity. That's the power of how our industry works. What happens is we've had success in other things, and we come in based on our previous business success, and we want to make it more than it is. We want to make it more difficult. We think there's got to be more to it than that, and there's really not. So following the system, just doing the system. What's the system? Well, unexpected card a day and a gift a week, number 1. And that's not sharing the business. That's not asking people to be customers. That's just sharing from our hearts. That's all it's about. Now, the thing we're not looking to do, but the benefit that comes back is that's sowing the seeds. If you've ever listened to Jim Rohn, and many people have used it before, but they talk about the story of sowing the seeds. And the more the seeds are being sown, the more the harvest is going to come back over time. And that's just about putting out for good. That's just reaching out to touch people. But what's going to happen is you're going to have people call you back. It's not your intention. They say, how did you do that? How did you send me that card? Or how did you get a card with some brownies in it? What send out cards? What are you doing? So you're going to have people coming back, but if you're not sending out cards, you'll never get people calling back. The second thing is sharing send out cards. What we did here from 12 until 12:45 is we shared send out cards. And you don't have to give a presentation. Back when we did Excel, we had to give the presentation. So we were limited in trying to grow the business because sometimes new people coming in said, I don't want to get in front of a room, or I don't feel comfortable turning a flip chart and talking to a room of 5 people or 10 or 50 or 100. That was not their comfort zone. They didn't want to do it. So you had to have a leader who was the only person that could present the business and do it. Now, anybody can be on the phone with somebody and say, hey, are you in front of your computer?